Hello YouTubers, part 3. As you can see, this engine is more or less complete, ready to go back in. Obviously on the other videos, you know, we put everything back together. So what we're going to do basically today is lift it in. Simple as that, really. You can see the gearbox engine mount here and the engine mount here. Now basically what we're going to do is obviously lift it in, and we just need to line up. This is the engine mount here, which you can see obviously we've took out the other plate, but that's the engine mount there, and the gearbox mount is on the far side. So the first thing we're going to do is just literally get it sitting in where it's bolted in, and then we connect everything. But what you want to make sure you do is, like, all the things like your as you can see, your gear cables and everything, you want to make sure everything's out your way, so when you put it in, nothing's going to get caught. So you just take a few minutes now, putting all the wires out of the way and getting everything completely out of the way. And once you've obviously got it in, then you need to remember this is the wiring loom that goes on the car, so we need to get that back right. It's simple enough. The best thing about all these plugs is they can only really go in one place, so you can't mess them up, so don't worry about the plugs. As you can see, they're all different, so you can't really get them wrong. So what we're going to do is just leave the camera running, and we'll get it in, and then we'll show you all the clips and stuff like that. Now, as you can see, a couple of minutes, bit of wiggling, she's in. What I'm going to do now is I have to take the engine mount off the old engine for the engine side. I'm just going to put a couple of bolts in, turn the camera back on, and at least the engine's going to be sitting in on its own. So as you can see, this is the engine side engine mount, not the gearbox side. You can see the little hole here, so it slots in. So the engine isn't down properly yet, so I'm going to slot this in, put the bolt in the top, and then I can kind of line it and twist it up and just put a couple of bolts in, then we're sorted. Now as we can see, the engine is physically in. I've just put the 4 bolts on here and they're tight. And this was the engine mount bracket I was telling you about. There's 1 bolt that goes down there and there's 3. 1 here and 2 down there. So the engine is physically in, it's sitting in under its own power. So now what we've got to do is put all the lovely wiring back. So again, there's no point in filming this because it's going to be too long and boring. Once you're doing it yourself, it will make sense. Like I said, all the clips are different, so you can't really put them in the wrong place. So it's just a case of putting that wire on there. Sorted. Right, and as you can see, I'm about halfway through. This is the oil sensor, and there's a couple of crankshaft sensors and things I think that belongs to. Down here, this side, we've got our starter motor, and we've still got a few wires this side. Now, what is important when you're putting wires back is take your time and try and put all the clips back into the original place. Like this is clipped in here, because otherwise, if wires start rubbing, the car's not going to start, and you're going to be trying to figure out for ages what's going on, and it could just be a broken wire. For example, you can see down here, but there's 3 clips. There's 1, 2, 3, and they're bolted onto the gearbox, and it means this wire can't move, it can't rub against anything. So this is what takes the time. Just be careful, put everything back in the right place, make sure nothing's rubbing. And the other good thing is to do, when you're putting a bolt on, like for example, I did one over here, wherever it is. Now for the alternator bolt, if you're going to do it, tighten it straight away, because what you'll do is you'll put it on by hand and you'll forget it, and then you'll quickly be looking over everything. You think, oh yeah, that's tight, when it isn't. So if you're going to put a bolt on, make sure it's tight, so then you know you've done it and you don't have to come back, because it's very easy getting distracted. And it's just a case now, I've got to feed, these wires have to go in behind the alternator, and this one has to go in behind the starter here, so that's going to take a little bit more time. I've done the easy ones, which is always easy. Now as you can see, it's looking more like an engine. I've got the airbox on. I haven't got the starter motor wires on yet, but I've got more or less everything else on. Well, everything else I can do from the top, really. Obviously I've still got a lot of work to do on the bottom, but everything more or less I can get from the top I have done. Wires, air straps, air boxes, just little things like that. So now what I need to do is I need to lift it up. I'm going to put the clutch cylinder on, put the wires on for the starter motor, gear linkages on. That's my next plan. And then yeah, we're getting there. Right, we are definitely getting there. So I've done the gear linkage cables, which you're not going to be able to see, but they're basically, we can just see one there in the middle of the camera. I've done them. I've put the shock back on, which is the 219mm bolts, and I've put the drive shaft bolt on. Now you got to remember, when you put this bolt on, just when you got it as tight as you can, just tap this in with the hammer. This just acts as a little lock nut, so remember to tap that in. So I've got to do the other side, but before I do the other side, I've got to do the mountings. So they're the gearbox mountings just down there. I've got to put them on first before I can get to the other side. So I'm going to put them on. This is the front one. See, it's just 2 bolts and a big bolt that goes through. This is the back one, same thing, just a couple of bolts and a big bolt that goes through. And this is the one. No, so this is the front one, sorry. Like that. Simple as that. So I'm going to put them 2 on and put the other drive shaft on. Right, everybody. Ryan's back.
Hello.
So we've basically got the 2 drives in now. More or less everything is done. Obviously, apart from put the battery in, but we're just doing the air conditioning pipes just down there. But basically, everything is now done. So what we're going to do is, before I start this engine, I'm going to take off the sump. We'll film it, and I'm going to show you the gauze that I was originally telling you about that can do damage to these engines. So before we actually start this, we're going to clean out the gauze. This one might be good, we don't know, but we're going to take it out. We'll show you what I mean about the gauze, how to clean it, and then we'll put oil in it, put oil in the gearbox, fire up, and fingers crossed, everything crossed, that it's going to be okay. Now YouTubers, I'm going to call this for this part. We obviously have to start it, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take off the sump, so I'm going to do a separate video on the sump, and the last part of this particular car will be seeing if it starts and seeing if it runs. So what we're going to do next, basically, Brian, where are you? There you are. Yep. Is take off the sump. Smile, man. What's up with you? Hangover, is it? So yeah, we're going to call it for this video. Everything's basically back on. All we've literally got to do, we could start this if it wasn't for the sump. Put oil in the gearbox, oil in the engine, and water in it. That's basically all that's left. So next part of this video will be see if it starts, or does it go bang, or does it do nothing. Hope it helps. Thumbs up the video and subscribe. Don't forget to get your hands dirty. See you for the next one.